Hello and welcome back to the third rail. We have a new addition to the collection this week. I just received this somewhat large pack of 3 locomotives with a class 86, a class 03 and a class E04 of the Deutsche Reichsbahn. I thought we should have a first look at it together. This set cannot be found in the standard catalogues of the time, so I'll try and put it in context for you. Until 1970, Märklin had been producing items aimed at children, also known as toys. In the 1970s, the entire model railway industry suddenly faced a decline in sales. That was first thought to be a consequence of the decline of the birth rates in the Western European markets, and also of the economic crisis at the beginning of the decade. But the cause was in the end more fundamental. The standard model railway customer was becoming older, and he had developed different expectations over the previous years. He was either a collector or a modeler. The level of detail and accuracy of the model was an aspect that was becoming more and more important. Märklin responded to these changes by increasing the variety of product lines across all the scales it marketed, and introduced increasingly complex models carrying the livery of additional railway companies during the 1980s. To attract collectors, models were increasingly produced in limited runs, 1 year only or one-time series. I covered this and one of the product lines that came to market at the time in another video. I've put a little card at the top right-hand corner of the screen now if you're interested. This set, produced in 1987, is an example of the changes that occurred at the time. It doesn't appear in the standard catalogue and was probably advertised through the dealer network. I couldn't find any brochure or advertisement material for it. So if you know about such a thing, maybe even have an original copy to sell, or maybe a scanned copy to share, feel free to contact me using the email in the description. I'd be very interested. The set itself was a special series produced to commemorate the 750th anniversary of the city of Berlin that year. That was quite a big event at the time. West Berlin and East Berlin invested heavily in what quickly became a bit of a prestige race. Both parts of the town engaged in a lot of building work to renovate a few historic buildings or even fill gaps left empty since the rubble was removed after the Second World War. West Berlin staged the International Architecture Exhibition that year, the results of which revive entire parts of the city. Renovations and building work in East Berlin virtually monopolized the entire building capacity of the German Democratic Republic at the time for a few years leading to 1987, contributing to a degradation in other parts of the country. Official commemoration programs were put together, which included public events throughout the year. For the promotion of the event, a heavy marketing machine was put in place and a large amount of items were produced, such as commemorative coins, books, postcards, mugs, but also even bits of food, which were all branded with the official program logo. Looking at model railway manufacturers, a few companies such as Fleischmann, Brekina, Viking produced a few official branded items as part of this marketing drive. Other companies not affiliated with any of the programs also produced items in the hope, I would hazard a guess, to cash in on the event. This set is such an example and doesn't carry any of the official logos in circulation at the time. Whatever the reasons, it was a good opportunity for Märklin to tap into a wider collector market. And also the item fit well with a new theme that was introduced in the Märklin program that year, the KPEV, it's the Royal Prussian Railway Administration. To assemble this Berlin theme, Märklin picked three companies which played a critical role in the development of the German railways. We have the ancestor, Borsig first, then Schwarzkopf, which later became Berliner Maschinenbau Aktiengesellschaft, and finally AEG. Each company is represented by an example of a class of locomotive it produced. We have the BR03 for Borsig, the BR86 for Schwarzkopf, and the E04 for AEG. A few special display items were added to the set. As far as the technical aspect is concerned, the locomotives are no different from existing versions that could be found in the catalogue at the time. The set came out in 1987, as mentioned previously. It came in two versions, an analog version, model number 3100, and a digital version, model number 3600. The technical configuration of the models is the most basic that Märklin did at the time. It's therefore safe to assume that Märklin didn't envisage these locomotives being used for anything else but display purposes. So let's have a look at what Märklin did to make all this a bit special. First of all, we have the packaging, believe it or not. This set is the first implementation of a new design concept that would be used across the line of box sets in the following years. We still have the drawings of the items making up the set, but additionally a picture has been added covering the entire background of the box lid. In this case it's a picture of a locomotive boiler hanging from a crane in a locomotive factory. For this commemorative set, Märklin also added a mention at the top left corner of the box which reads 750 Jahre Berlin, 750 years Berlin. Let's move to the inside of the box now. I just need to remove the lid and take a few items out of the way so that we can get a good view. There we go. And now the main attraction is revealed. The three locomotives literally jump into your eye with their light grey color, especially with this black tray in the background. All three models carry a so-called photographic livery, which is a light grey, light blue color. This is the color in which a lot of the prototypes of the era left the factory. This color was applied to the locomotives in order to allow a better rendering of details on early photographic equipment. It was the first time Märklin brought anything to market in this livery. Since then a few models have followed. For each model in the set, Märklin produced a corresponding replica of a manufacturer's plate with a serial number. Each plate is made out of metal, I think it's aluminium. The set also came with the usual service booklet, but we also have a little brochure that contains information about the photographic livery, the three manufacturers, and the models themselves, and with a few pictures for a change, and even color ones. Alright, I take the models out of their box so that we can have a closer look at them. There we go. Here is a little family picture, first of all. Yes, quite nice. We'll zoom in on the class 03. I'm just noticing that this model in this edition has been fitted with Wagner wind deflectors, which was the state in which the first BR03 came out of the factory. So it's not quite identical to the model in the catalogue after all. Then we have the BR86 from Schwarzkopf. Very nice too. I must admit, this livery reveals a few details I hadn't noticed before. It's quite nice. And then finally the E04 from AEG. There we have a slightly different shade of grey with a kind of veering more towards the blue. Very nice in this edition too. As far as the condition is concerned, I'm really struggling to find any trace of use on this model. And that's not surprising. This type of sets usually didn't spend a lot of time running around layouts. Actually, they spent most of their time in their box. So I'll point out a few defects. Nevertheless, we have a slight problem on the box where a bit of the surface has been scratched off. And then if we look on top of the electric locomotive, the E04, there were a couple of isolators missing when I bought the set. But I found them at the bottom of the box, so I'm just missing one isolator now. Apart from that, everything is in a condition practically similar to the one when it left the factory, which is not bad. Now there's one question left. Does any one of these locomotives actually work? I doubt anyone will, personally, because these models never do. I don't mean that they're broken or anything, they're just simply not functional. I'll try one of them nevertheless. Let's take the BR86 to the layout. So we've got lights, the reverser is working, but the locomotive does not respond to the throttle. And that's usual with this type of models which never move. What we've got to deal with here are seized axles and blocked gears. And this is due to the type of oil Märklin used to lubricate the model at the factory, and the type of oil it sells to everyone after that. It simply cannot withstand long periods of inactivity and hardens over time. So just for the video and a bit of fun, I spent 25-30 minutes dealing with that on this model as carefully as possible. It's just a matter of moving the motor armature manually to unblock the gears and then apply a drop of oil here and there. And after all this, we get to a situation where the model comes back to life. There we go. So I won't go any further with this model or any of the other ones in the set, because I'm not intending to use them as active participants in one of my running sessions. So I leave any further maintenance and running until such time that I decide to use them. For now, they'll be returning in their box and leading the same life they've led until now with other custodians. Right, we're nearly at the end of the video, and before I go, there is one more thing I'd like to mention. It is that Berlin is a fantastic city. So if you have a bit of time and funds available to make your way to this very interesting city, I can only recommend it. There's all sorts of things to do, from the simple sightseeing to the hundreds of events that are staged there throughout the years in one of the numerous public venues dotted all over the place around this wonderful city. It's culturally diverse, tolerant. There's something to do for every age, whether you're a parent with small children or somebody who is in his twilight years. I can only recommend a trip there. You will not regret it. Right, we've reached the end of this video for now. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. It's very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank all the subscribers to the channel. It never ceases to amaze me how many people are so interested in the content I produce that they feel the need to subscribe, even hit the notification bell to get notified of new uploads, and sometimes give me a little like from time to time. It's all very rewarding and keeps me going. Thank you very much again for this. Bye for now.